I think it's only fitting to start this episode off just with a big, deep sigh, because, oh man.
Oh, you are teeing this up so good. Enzo, to me, looks like a more agile, basically a young Chess Fabregas.
It's a Rolls Royce, man. Gotta sell it.
Messi is the Jorginho of international football. That was a dumb take.
The flag stays down!
Welcome to another episode of the Flag Stays Down podcast. Wonderful Monday evening, coming off a second straight Chelsea win. Boys, we're building a win streak here. Infinite Athletes in as the sponsor. We haven't lost with them as the front of shirt sponsor. And we haven't lost when Parker's the host. So Parker, shifting it over to you here. No, just playing. Thank you for filling in last week as the host. How you doing?
I'm great. It was weird not having any Premier League to watch over the weekend. I don't know how I feel about the Monday night matches, Monday Night Football. It kind of messes with my weekend rituals, so it's not as much fun for me. But I was able to catch the game, and then got a chance to catch the Brighton match midweek as well. So we move forward in a cup. City losing a cup, which is great considering they took us out last year. It's always fun to watch them lose. And I mean, when was the last time we had 2 wins in a row, guys? It's been a minute, and I'm not sad to see this. So everything's good. Matt, how are you doing? How are you holding up?
It's Monday. I'm just here so I don't get fined. It's good. Good Chelsea win. Didn't get a chance to watch it, unfortunately. But I'll probably watch it tomorrow when it becomes available. Did catch some of the highlights. A win's a win. That's why I look at it. So it's a good day. Collins, how are you? How was the weekend?
Oh, it was good. Wife was in Vegas for the Alvarez Charo fight. So it was me and little man guys weekend. Ordered some pizzas, played a lot of FIFA. No, it was good. Just disappointed today's Monday. And Parker, I'm looking back. You piqued my interest there with the 2 wins in a row. First time in 2023 that we have won 2 successive games. I don't want to scroll back any further because I don't want to be any more depressed about a Monday, but yikes.
Well, I saw back-to-back wins. It was the Dortmund win, and then we won the week, a couple days prior to that. So that would have been March of this year, I think.
Oh, then that must have been our only other one.
Because they beat Dortmund at home, and then they beat, I think it was Leeds, something like that.
Oof. Well,
been a while.
Only place you can go from here is up, which is good. Well, we did have a lot of good to cover this week. As mentioned, beat Brighton 1-0 in the Carabao Cup. Moving on, face Blackburn next. And then pick up a Premier League win. Our first since beating Luton 3-4 weeks ago. 2-0 victory against Fulham. Man, we got goals to talk about. Haven't had those in a while. We've got refereeing controversy, like always. We got position battles, surprisingly. But let's start with goals. Let's keep that positive momentum rolling here. So let's focus on. We'll start with the cup match where Nicholas Jackson scores his first ever Carabao Cup goal. And then moving on today, we had Armando Broja scoring his first goal in over a year. And Mihailo Mudryk scoring his first goal, competitive goal for Chelsea since his signing in January. Let's do a miniature goal of the month. We'll do goal of the week. What is your guys' favorite goal from this week?
I would say Jackson's. I don't know how I feel about the 2 goals today. So I'm happy that we got them. Broya's was kind of dumb luck. Just right place, right time, literally right foot. Mudrik's, again, I'm glad that he scored. He went through the keeper, went through his legs. It's great. Didn't seem like he got the best contact on the ball. Just kind of when I was just watching it through. So still not as clean as I would have liked, but at this point I'll take damn near anything. Jackson's I thought was cleaner, so I'm gonna go with Jackson's.
Oh man, see, I like the 2 from today. I also like Jackson's. You know, it was nice to get a goal in September. Man, I like the press with the Broya goal, but I got to go Mudryk. Just the fluidity there, and Mudryk seemingly having a little bit of football IQ, which is something that he's been ridiculed for over the last 10 months of not having, of moving inward, you know, taking up a secondary striker role. The touch to bring it down, and then, you know, even if that was a scuffed hit, you need to put the ball in the frame to have a chance, and that's what he did. And like I said, you know, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, law of averages say some of these chances have to start going in, and I think now we're starting to see it. So the Mudryk one was the prettiest out of all of them. I'm gonna go Mudryk.
Ironically, my favorite was the goal that got called back. The goal that didn't stand against Brighton, I thought was the prettiest of the bunch. That little flick pass from Palmer was disgusting. And I know we didn't get that angle of offside that we normally get. I have a feeling that they didn't show that because it was very, very much onside and they didn't want to look really bad. So they're like, ooh, do not show this. And so that's why we never got that view. It very much appeared that he was onside. And so that was disappointing because, you know, 1 goal, great, but 2 goals, better. And for Jackson, someone who needs that confidence, I think, you know, obviously still putting it in the back of the net helps, but to have 2 goals to his name would have been great. So, I mean, that was what I thought the prettiest one was, but I really appreciate the second goal from today because, you know, Mudryk has this moment. It's great. You know, it's a great goal. Fulham were playing well at the time. It was a pretty close contested game. They were winning the possession battle by a decent margin. They had like 65% of the possession. Fulham playing well. We were able to break press and get a goal. It's great. And then 80 seconds later, we have a high press on. Palmer, you know, reads the play, great, makes a run in, and then Broya definitely gets fortunate with where he is and the clearance of it. But hey, that attack, that pressure caused a goal. And Collins, I love what you said about the law of averages because it was something I said to my wife today was just we've had all these chances, we've had all these good looks, and sometimes they just have to go in. It doesn't always have to be the coolest, craziest, most picture perfect goal. It just has to go in. We've had plenty that have had great looks that just, you know, miss or just hit post or just, you know, tip save or something unlucky happens. It's about damn time we get lucky. It's about damn time we have something go our way. And so, I mean, that really put a stranglehold on the game. So it's really, really important. I think if that game stays 1-1 for an extended period, it gets really, really nervy. So I thought that kind of killed anything that Fulham was building. It took us well through the first half into the second half before they really even got their footing again and put up an attack. But the game felt like it was over then in the 30th minute. So it was an important goal, and I thought it was great.
Matt, did it hurt to have your doppelganger Tim Ream be the one to concede that one?
I mean, From a US perspective, yeah. From a Chelsea fan, who gives a shit?
Collins, I saw Tim Ream play once. I went over to London and saw a Fulham match, and Timmy Ream had about as bad of a first half as he could. He gave up 2 goals. He got subbed off in like the 32nd minute, and Fulham come back to win 4-2. So this is par for the course for Timmy Ream when I watch him, apparently.
All right, you need to start watching Fulham games. Make sure we get that Europa League spot.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, Parker, you'd mentioned Cole Palmer's press, and I feel like we just now have a running bit on this show, or a running segment on this show about Cole Palmer. I think we've talked about him the last 3 weeks, but with good reason. He's balled out, and the couple sub opportunities he's had, and now a couple starts. What, Parker, what do you make of Cole Palmer? Is this kind of a flash in the pan? Is this class? Like, what do you make of this?
I've seen growth in his play since he's gotten with us, and we didn't get a ton of a chance to see it originally with just a couple of 20-minute sub appearances in games where we weren't playing great. So he's obviously doing something to impress the manager, where he's able to get out there and start. It's funny because, and I don't know if we're planning on talking about Noni Madueke later on this pod, but Madueke is someone who isn't injured and isn't getting the looks, right? And so he's not beating no one. He's beating some pretty talented people to get out there on the pitch and show what he's got, and for good reason. He's definitely come into his own for us, and it's been kind of fun to watch. He's young, but he has like this super high IQ, super like effortless style to his game. And I feel like when the ball goes to him, it just kind of has this magnet on his foot, and he just kind of does what he wants with it. And he has the ability to create space for himself and just kind of be in the right position to distribute the ball for it. I don't know. I haven't seen it in a while on our team. It seemed like whenever it went to him today, Fulham had this high press on, but when it got to Palmer, good things happened. And you just kind of consistently start nodding your head when you're watching. You're like, okay, this is great. This is positive. And then we have the ability to kind of break out of it. And so I like what I see. I don't know where this goes. I guess I don't know if this is a flash in the pan or if this is going to be more of a consistent. I would bet more on the latter. I think we see him continue to grow. I think he's got a lot to offer, and I know it's super early to call, but this team is starting to figure it out. This team is starting to put some things in the right positions. So, yeah, I'm excited by him. He's been fun and dynamic to watch so far. So, hope it continues.
When we signed Palmer, the Secret Scout, which is a great Twitter follow, very I forgot what their bio is exactly, but they are a scout, just an unnamed scout for a club. Had mentioned that if Palmer was playing in Spain or in the Bundesliga or in Liga, that at 21 he would have already had 60-70 games under his belt with the way he plays, and would have been a 80 to 100 million pound transfer. I don't doubt it. He came from City, where there's not really space, right, to to move into that lineup. But I saw another interesting tidbit on Palmer, and Matt, I feel like you'll appreciate this one. The quote is, "Palmer is what Chelsea fans thought Mason Mount was." Matt, go.
It's funny that you brought that up, because as Parker was going through his analysis, I'm like, yep, that sounds like Mason Mount when he was actually good, and we enjoyed watching him play, and he was productive. The thing that I've noticed with Cole Palmer is that he's also making everybody around him better. So when I think about this from a comparison between Cole Palmer and Raz is one touch and go. Like, that's kind of his thing. occasionally he can use his speed and get around people. But in order for him to kind of get free, he has to one touch with somebody. Cole Palmer can do that by himself. He can create his own space. That's something that I think unlocks everybody else, because everybody's looking to link up with Raz to try and set him free. With Cole Palmer, you just give him the ball and then he'll figure out where the pass needs to go. He'll figure out who needs to be where, and he has the technique and the skill to be able to put the ball wherever it needs to be. I like what I'm seeing out of him. I did see a little bit of him at City, and it was like a Carabao Cup game or something, but he had like 3 goals or 4 goals. He looked like he was going to be a problem coming up. I'm very excited that he's thriving at Chelsea so far. I would not be shocked to see Raz be the number 2 behind Cole Palmer for the remainder of the season. I would not be surprised.
I think it's a little early on that, just because of Sterling's, I'd say pedigree, but his track record in the Premier League. I think in a very young team, I like to think he brings a little bit of leadership. I can't confirm or deny that, but I could see as the season goes on that switch is made. And what I like about Cole Palmer, and you guys have talked about it a little bit here, kind of indirectly, is that he just brings something different to the table. Parker, you and I were talking pre-pod about, you got Mudryk, who's very like smash mouth, like he's going to go right at you with his physicality and his speed. And Palmer is more of the thinker, right? He's got good intelligence on the pitch. And I think we have a lot of that all over the pitch, where we have different guys who have different traits and different roles that all are kind of blending together. Whereas in years past, you look at the left wing specifically, and you got, either Mudryk or Timo and Pulisic, right? And it's just speed, dribble, 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 dribble. And so when you make that substitution, it's just a like for like. There's no change being made. You're not changing up the look for the defense. Now you've got Sterling, who's going to run at you on the right. You've got Palmer. We still haven't seen Nkunku in a competitive game, but he can play down that wing too, and he offers something different there. It reminds me a little bit, to go with the comparisons. It reminds me of Hakim Ziyech, where what he offered on that right wing was just completely different than anything Chelsea had at all at any time when he was with the club. And so when he was out there, it was, all of a sudden things are starting to go through the right thing. Things are starting to happen on the right, not always successfully, but it's because you're throwing a different look at the defense. And I think Cole Palmer offers that in a different way than Ziyech.
Makes me miss those guys though. I mean, there's definitely like an era of Chelsea player where, they brought some of that stuff to the table, like a Ziyech, and Marcus Alonso is another one where he has his setbacks, sure, but he also brings something that a lot of people didn't bring to the table. So Pedro is another guy that comes to mind off the top of my head, right? It's just some of these like unique role players that contribute, not always in a consistent manner, but contribute a lot to goals. And when our biggest weakness right now is scoring goals, finding players that can pop up with some creativity, some different looks, different thoughts, as long as everyone's on the same page, I think it's going to be something kind of fun to watch develop.
So with different looks, we've got 4 players who can play at left back right now. You got Cucurella, Benny Chills, Ian Maatson, and Levi Colwill, all offering something different. Colwill seems to be the favorite for Pochettino. Granted, there's injuries in there too and whatnot, but say we have a fully healthy defense. Who are you lining up at that left back spot?
I think you still go Chilwell, personally. And the reason for that being, I could see Levi Colwill taking over for either Silva or like Benoit or somebody like that, I could see him being a number 1 or number 2 center back going forward. So I think it's not because Chilwell will beat him out. It's because he's playing so well. I think he would be the top 2 if we are playing, back 4, whatever. He would be one of our top 2 center backs. So I think by that alone, it would be Chilwell.
It's an interesting point you just brought up, because I think center back becomes one of our most interesting positions with a fully healthy squad. You've got Disasi, Fofana, Silva, Colwell. I mean, you name it, right? There's a good Badiashile. Like, there's a good amount of center backs that are all, pretty damn skilled. And so I don't know. I don't know if you go to 3 at the back when you have all healthy center backs at that point. I don't know if you continue with the back 4. I think Colwell's kind of cemented himself somewhere in the team. He's been excellent. And I was watching the match and it's like 35, 40 minutes into it, and I'm just like, God damn, he's impressive. And he's a name that we weren't talking about as much, preseason. He didn't get all the press. He wasn't $120 million, signing that came into the team, and he is very impressive. And he obviously had the assist today that helps, but assist aside, I think he had a great game. Just a really solid overall, well-rounded game, and it'll be interesting to see if he comes. Like, he was reluctant to come forward a lot, and he's seeing it a little bit more now. He's kind of toying with the idea of coming forward, and he's coming forward a little bit more every so often, but primarily defender, right? He's not coming up as much as a Chilwell would, or a Reece James would, or Malo Gusto has in the past as well. But so I'm curious, because he's kind of coming into his own. He's figuring it out. Pochettino's figuring it out. So what the messaging to him will be going forward on that left side, it'll be fun to track. But I think forward or not, I think we've got plenty of skill and attack in the middle of the pitch that we're not going to need it as much. And I think he's been great at what he's been doing.
See, I think it's dependent on who your left winger is. Does Cole Palmer unseat Raheem Sterling? Does Sterling then move to the left? Does Mudryk keep cooking on the left and retain that spot? Because Mudryk and Chilwell just have not meshed over the last 10 months. But I think Colwell's kind of picking and choosing when he goes forward complements what Mudryk does on that left. It opens up space for him to operate, as opposed to them both operating in the exact same space like Mudryk and Chilwell do. And the other thing I think that Colwell has going for him on that left side as a left back is his passing is pretty damn good. His distribution's good. He's got great accuracy. Man, if we're playing with a back 4, it's not necessarily wing backs you're playing with, it's full backs. If we're going to stick with a back 4, I think Colwell might be there, especially, like, with the prerequisite of you have a fully healthy defense, which could never happen. It might never happen. But, you've got 5 center backs who could easily be starters. And Parker, you listed all of them. And so, where do you play those guys? I don't know, but I think Colwell allows you to get more of those guys game time. There was one center back, though, who took a little bit of a beating today. And for all might be assaulted and out of the league, or, I've heard rumors of, we should phase him out. And that's Thiago Silva. There's been a lot of controversy around officiating the last couple of weeks. Chelsea's been subject to some weird calls. Now, granted, in the Carabao Cup, you have anywhere from League 2 to non-league to Premier League refs officiating. The guy we had in that match, I think I read, had only done one Premier League match in his life. Call Armando Bro. What was that?
And it showed.
Well, yeah, I mean, they called Armando Broya offside when he was on his own side of the pitch. That seems like a fairly simple one.
To play devil's advocate, I think there was a pretty clear red card on Uguchugwe that got missed as well. So after that happened, I was just like, well, I guess this all kind of evens itself out, because that was a pretty nasty tackle as well. So just being unbiased here.
Well, yeah, and then just to add to the list here, Parker, you had already mentioned the Jackson goal being called offsides. And then, of course, you got the whole Liverpool issue over the weekend. And then today, you got, who was that? It was Vinicius taking the elbow or forearm, whatever you want to call it, to the back of Thiago Silva's head. And Parker, I apologize. I watched the extended highlights, so I didn't see it. Was it reviewed by VAR? And
I didn't see that. I must have stepped away for a sec when that happened, because I didn't see that play. So I saw on Twitter after the fact of how the hell was this not called, but I didn't see it live.
Because it seems to me, especially, and replay makes things look a lot worse, right? Slow-mo makes things look worse. But you could literally see the intent. You could see him wind up, cock that arm, drop it on Silva's head. It very much violent behavior. I don't know how that's not an automatic red card on a VAR review.
Sure looked like it, especially in a world where Malo Gustos, which didn't look like had any intent to harm or to cause malice, like, dude won the ball, and boot was maybe 4, 5, 6 inches off the ground, caught a leg, and that gets VAR reviewed and upheld, or VAR reviewed and reversed, I guess is the right way to say that, taken from a yellow to a red. But the fact that it was a yellow card called on the pitch turned a red card. I mean, we've talked about consistency over refereeing for years now, and it just, like, you start to wonder why the system is in place. Like, what they told us was for clear and obvious errors. This feels like it fits the bill of a clear and obvious error, something that gets missed and that should be reviewed. And you got eyes on this stuff all over. There's 100 cameras in the arena. Like, it's all over, and you got people's jobs specifically looking at making sure this stuff gets caught. And the fact that it doesn't, it just sucks. It just feels deliberate, and it makes me wonder and question, like, why do we have this system if it's just going to be like that? Because at least when I watched the Brighton match and there was no VAR, I could just live with, all right, it's a mistake, it happens, and we move on, right? We just play. But because you don't rely on that system to catch it, it happens live, it happens in real time. You're like, okay, like, stuff got missed on both teams, I'm okay with that. But when Gusto's red card gets called and scrutinized and looked at from every single angle, and this doesn't, it just sucks.
VAR is still a joke. It will be a joke. I have no faith in it at all, because it is, at the end of the day, even though the system is in place, it is still up to the VAR official that day whether or not they tell the head official to go take a look. That's basically what it is, right? On challenges like that, there's still the human element to it, and we can play the Chelsea agenda all we want. If an official has a bone to pick with a team or a player, they're in control of that. So I think the way that the Premier League makes it out to be versus how it's actually influencing the game, I think are two very drastic stories.
I think a lot of it is the turnover in the refereeing ranks. You've had some retirements. There's been news this week of the Saudi League trying to poach English refs. You've had some of them move on to consulting roles. So I'm looking at who has officiated this year, and there's been 20 different officials in the Premier League this year. And man, off the top of my head, like four come to mind, and it's Anthony Taylor, Michael Oliver, Stuart Atwill, and our boy Peter Banksy.
And he's relatively new too. He's started last year, 2 years ago.
And the guy we had today, Tim Robinson, this was only his 6th ever Premier League match. He had done, looks like probably 6 or 7 years in the championship prior to this year. So, man, it's just one of those stupid growing pains, I think. And hopefully things kind of correct themselves over time. And you don't have a situation like in MLB where Angel Hernandez is still officiating 7 years after blowing a perfect game. There has to be some further education for the officials. And you would think with the amount of, anytime Liverpool gets involved, you see a lot of blowback, you see a lot of media fire with that. And hopefully that leads to some further training for these officials.
It reminds me of when the NFL refs were on strike and they brought in the replacement refs, which, the NFL thought they could get away with it, right? They thought they we have the upper hand. They need us more than we need them. And then game gets cost. The famous picture of the one ref yelling touchdown, one ref saying incomplete, and everyone comes for their heads, right? And the problem is you watch an NBA finals and you see what those refs what their resumes are. It's like refed in 18 different finals games. The history, the years of the experience, that can't be taught, Collins. You can teach people book stuff all day long, but you can't teach that experience. You can't teach, being out there for 20 years. So we might be in a situation where you've got a new crop and it's going to take a good amount of time for them to really be up to snuff or up to the level that we're used to. Good refereeing is hard to come by, and if they're turning over quicker than they can get trained in, then it's going to be a rocky and inconsistent road.
That's fair. I just think back to when we, us three playing collegiate volleyball, and our big fundraiser was reffing, youth club tournaments, and we had to sit through 4.5 hour training or whatever that happened to be every year. Just something like that. A little 8 hour refresher during the international break or something. There needs to be something happen, or some kind of accountability, like, oh, you've been relegated. But Parker, you were saying the commentary team for Sky/NBC had a feed into the VAR room.
Yeah, so it sounds like when Liverpool chatters or bad things happen to Liverpool, things get changed, and it sounds like that the broadcasters have a one-way feed, right? When a VAR decision happens, they get the VAR official to the head official's mic, basically in their ear. So they're telling them what they're checking, what they're looking at live in real time, and they're being more detailed about it. So one of the examples that they gave was a couple of weeks ago, they would get check complete, and that's it, kind of. And now it's more like check complete, no goal, was onside, things like that. They're getting more detail around it, but there's more communication going back and forth. But like I said, they only get the one feed. They don't get the referee, the head ref, what he is saying back to the VAR official. So Collins, we talked about this before, though, where I think the future and the transparency view of it would be really wonderful if we could hear what the head ref is saying and what he's thinking about. I think that would shed a lot of light on VAR, on the system, and give us as fans kind of a clue into are they looking at this, yes or no? What did they see? What did the VAR officials see? What reason does the head official have to overrule, or just kind of, what that process looks like live in real time? Because right now all we get is pretty simple results from it and not how the sausage is made. Now, not every viewer on the planet is going to want to listen to the referee's cam and referee line, but we're nerds and we're in this for real, if you will. We freaking podcast about it, so it would be nice to have that viewpoint. And maybe they do. I think other sports have done it and tried it with good success. And for transparency's sake, I think it's kind of like a why not. If you are trying to hide stuff, it's kind of like that's why we would do it. But if you have nothing to hide, Premier League, like, show the cards.
I think the Bundesliga actually gives you, they actually have the feed. I'd have to go back and watch a game, but I think I remember like them actually having the feed and kind of going through like what they're seeing and what they're looking at.
Even if it's like just for a moment, right? We don't need it like the whole game. It's just like a situation where he goes to the camera, you can just hear what he's saying. Like, it's just, the hot mic'd up moments. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I would be curious to see if that would ever come down the line, because then I also think about, and even in just this scenario where the commentators have a feed in there, not necessarily we have it, but they can take that and do with it what they want. What happens if you have that during that Liverpool offside? But are the commentators, because they're paying the Premier League for the rights to that, are they going to start blasting the Premier League refs live on TV? What is this? What this is what they're saying. These guys are a bunch of fucking pricks. Like, I don't know. I think there's a little bit of conflict of interest there. But there's money talks. So if you can get some subscribers to watch the referee feed, was that MLS that did the ref cam for the All-Star game? I'm sure you can monetize that somehow.
All I know, man, is that go ahead.
The one thing I do enjoy, at least with like the NFL, so watching the Jets Chiefs game last night, is you have like the head of officiating or like a former experienced official like weigh in on calls and be like, yeah, that shouldn't have been called, or yeah, that should have been called. Even that alone, I think, would be beneficial. Something small, just bring Clattenburg back, right? Be like, what do you think? Yeah, it should have gone to VAR. Yeah, he's onside. Okay, then move on from there. Something quick like that. I think even that would be beneficial as opposed to just check complete. We're going to have VAR and then go from there. Like, bring in somebody who's experienced, who's dealt with it, and give their perspective, and then at least give the viewer a little bit of insight.
That also helps the announcers save face, where they don't have to be biased, for their allegiance. It's a third party. And in the NFL, I think it's a phenomenal system. They don't always get it right. They're right a lot of the time, but it's not always like their opinion is gospel. So sometimes they're wrong and they just kind of roll with it, right? It's like, oh, they must have seen something we didn't. Move on. So I think that's a great point, man. I think that would help things out a lot. Again, just for another quick opinion on what someone else who's been in those shoes before, what he sees.
And we've got precedent with that. Fox Sports, World Cup, MLS, all that. They've got what's his name, Dr. Joe
Machnick.
Yes, thank you. Kind of the Mike Pereira of Fox Soccer. So it can be done. But back to Chelsea here, and just one last point to run by you guys here. Matt, I haven't said vibes in a while, but I think you kind of bashed my take on the preseason and the vibes and all that, but I think we're seeing some of the carryover from the preseason here not necessarily in terms of results, but in terms of team spirit and team camaraderie, which is not something we had at all last year. I have a feeling these guys are God, these guys, none of these guys were here last year. Last year's team hated each other on an individual level. This group seems very cohesive. On the Mudryk goal, you saw Enzo and Caicedo at midfield turning and embracing each other in joy. You saw Levi Colwill running up to Mudryk saying, "You fucking deserve this. Like, good job, good job." Axel Disasi is always the first one to be congratulating people at any time. There seems to be, I guess team spirit and camaraderie this year, and I think that was built in preseason. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Pochettino for building something that Graham Potter could not.
Yeah, it's good to see. When it's always tough when things are down, and comparing the team last year to the team this year, I mean, it's night and day, right? Like we see the togetherness, right? We see the fun, we see like the team celebration, not just one person celebrate. It's the team celebration. Everybody's playing for one another. And I think that's something you didn't see last year, kind of that everybody almost kind of playing for their own piece of the pie. And that was it. I'm enjoying what I'm seeing from that standpoint. So I hope that it continues. And, I think a lot of it has to do with the youth that we have. It kind of goes back to like, they're just kids who want to play the game. You'll never find a happier person than just a kid who wants to play. That's what they are right now. And that's what I'm seeing. So I'm all for it.
I think the other thing that helps is they're on long-term contracts. Like we got rid of a lot of people who didn't want to be with the club, that were aged out, phased out, however you want to say it. But we signed a bunch of people on long-term deals. They don't have any choice but to figure it out, right? They are banded together. They are in this for the long haul. They signed 7-8 year agreements. So they don't have an out, right? They play. They need to figure it out. They need to turn it around. They don't have any other choice. They're going to be there for the better part of their career. So it's like, when the chips fall, and like they did last year, and that people looked around, there wasn't really anyone willing to step up and go to bat. There wasn't anyone that like you could rally around or rally behind. Now you got a lot of guys who that's what they want to do, right? They want to rally, they want to figure it out, they want to invest in the project and call it a project, but also know that we got to get results today too. And that's what I see. I see a lot of those kids that want to play and build it together.
Well, so I lied, not one more point, but Parker, you just got my mind thinking here. Is Noni Madueke gonna ever join that fold? Or in light of what's come out in the last couple of weeks, is he maybe the I don't even know a word for it. Kind of the outlier.
Matt?
Maybe not. For me, too early to kind of tell. Like, yeah, I think it was when he was injured, he was all partying, right? Is that the story? He's injured, but like, the fuck else you gonna do? Like, I get it. Like, I'm sure he was still going through his rehab program and everything like that. He's a young kid. We talked about this with Nico Jackson, except his shit is on the field, not off the field. It's just maturity and growing up. You have to remember, these are kids with ridiculous amounts of money, comparatively speaking, to like the three of us. It's just ridiculous. Like, they're on contracts of, what is it, like 70, 80,000 pounds a week? That's stupid money. they want to spend it. Okay, do your thing, just as long as you show up on the pitch. I think it's just a childish action. But we'll see how Pochettino handles it. And I think he's doing the right thing right now, making a point and have him work his way back.
Yeah, Pochettino is like renowned as a man manager. He doesn't have a degree in sports psychology or anything, but he knows his way around coaching a team. But I hope this is just kind of like a temporary slap on the wrist for Madueke. But at the same time, and you're losing out because the people who are in your position are balling out at the moment in Sterling and Palmer. So you got to kind of clean up your act here and train a little harder. I know again he was injured, right? But there's consistently smoke around. He's not great in training. You got to do something, especially with the 8,000 U25s we have on this team. You got to put yourself above and beyond everybody else.
And maybe he rises to the occasion and maybe he doesn't, right? I mean, not every signing you make is going to be a piece of that puzzle long term, and maybe he's not. But I chalk it up to more of what Matt said, which is he's a kid, he made a mistake. It's not the worst mistake in the world to make, but it's a mistake. And the manager sits him down, has a conversation with him, drops him from the squad, but brings him back. And I mean, he got subbed in at the last 10 seconds of the game, so he technically made his way back. Not really, but you know what I mean? It's not like a long-term grudge. He's not going to just not play him because of it, but he's also going to make him work for it and earn it. So I love that. I think that competition in practice, you view practice as it's going to be almost more competitive than a game, right? You're going to have people kind of going at each other, and you're going to have a good amount of talent that gets left out. And it's like you earn it on the training pitch and you show it on the game, on the match pitch. So it's it's getting built right now, but I think that's what you're going to see. And he's going to be like, oh shit, I thought because I got signed as a big name, big ticket, a high dollar value signing, I could coast my way into this. And he's going to learn real quick that it's not going to get any playing time if he keeps doing what he's doing.
Just like the theme of last week's pod, is learning experiences. All right. Well, boys, we did not run any polls this week. I've been slacking on the social media, so I apologize. But we'll have a real quick poll between the three of us for both games here. So rack your brains back to the Brighton match. I'll throw 4 names out there. You let me know who your man of the match is. We'll go Nicholas Jackson, Cole Palmer, Mihailo Mudryk, or Mark Cucurella.
Cole Palmer.
I gotta go Cucurella. He had a tough test against Matoma, and he was frustrating those Brighton boys towards the end there. So it was a nice little comeback story for him. So I gotta go Cucurella, but I do agree with you guys. Palmer had a hell of a match. Do you guys have a man of the get the fuck out of here nominee from that match? Besides Brighton and as a whole?
Brighton's negotiating team.
Banghoven Albion?
Yeah. The parent company.
All right. Well, how about this match? How about the Fulham match? We'll go Colwill, Broya, Mudryk, right in a fourth.
Yeah. Gallagher. A lot of
Gallagher.
people are talking about Gallagher as well on that one. I liked Broya's game. I'll give it to Broya. Not just the goal. I thought his hold-up play was good. I thought the ball at his feet is a skill set I haven't seen him portray as much, but like he had one where he took it to the byline, crossed it in, and Mudryk made a run that was kind of duplicated, And so Mudryk came high and someone else was coming high with him. I think like Gallagher was coming high with him. Had Mudryk gone low, it would have been a tap in for him. And so all created by Baroya though. And so I thought his game was man of the match worthy today.
Tim Ream.
That's actually a fair man of the match for Chelsea. I'm gonna go with the right end. I'm gonna go Alex Matos because he's the first player that Chelsea has subbed on or started or whatever in probably 3-4 years that I was like, who the fuck is that? So props to him for making his senior debut. He's my man of the match.
19 years old.
All right. Well, when we do run polls, you can check them out on Twitter/X. Just look at Flag Down Pod. We'll run those for 3 hours after the final kick. Boys, it's been a hell of a Monday. Any closing thoughts?
Did we
I
win?
think we're still in shock. It's been one of those days and weeks where I'm just not used to this feeling. It feels like a dream and it feels weird. So I'm just gonna enjoy it for what it is, I guess.
I'll share one real quick thing. So in our group chat, Parker, you were texting us updates, which I appreciate, and I also hated, so I had to mute our group chat because I didn't want to see updates. As soon as I saw Mudryk goal Broya, I immediately thought that, okay, VAR got rid of Mudryk's goal. Now VAR is going to get rid of Broya's goal. What happened? That's where I was at. So after that, I was like, I'm not even muting the chat. That just goes to show where we are right now.
Oh man. Well, I think I'm gonna close it off. As always, check us out on social media at Flag Down Pod. Get your podcasts, subscribe, rate, review, all that stuff. But I'm gonna close it off with a quote from the great Lou Brown, Major League. Okay, we won a game yesterday. If we win today, it's called 2 in a row. If we win again tomorrow, it's called a winning streak. It's happened before. One away from that. So, boys, on that note, happy Monday. Chat with you next week.
Happy Monday, boys.